Kaleidoscope color wheel.
I don't know how this happens on happens on screen.
Is this yours? So you're going to start out with a rectangle piece of paper. If you get lucky, maybe you have a square, but I don't. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take one side to the other of the short side to a long side. And that's going to give you an exact square. So you're going to cut this down this part, cutting off the rectangle on the end. And this rectangle piece on the end, you're going to put in your folder for the future. So if you look, what I've made is a triangle. When I open it up, I have a perfect square. Okay, I'm going to take this square and I am going to fold it. Folding it's a little bit tricky, all right? So I need this to break into 3 parts, and I want them to try and be even. So if I take it and I fold it over from one side. Now I'm not going to crease it yet. I want to double check. And I fold the other side. If it is even, this is going to meet over here, so it's a little bit off. So I'm going to move it over. See, it's even. All right, so now I'm going to press down on my folds. Okay, and I'm going to cut this straight across. If you want to double check, I don't need these, they're garbage. If you want to double check, did it work? Open it, you should have 3. When you open it all the way, 3 plus 3 is 6. You want 6 total. Okay, back to the middle. Okay, now I am going to draw shapes on here. I would say, I don't know, 3 or 4 shapes. You can draw them with a pencil if you want, or you can go straight in with a dark colored crayon. So I am going to put a heart. And honestly, you can trace with stencils if you would like. You can use objects to get your shapes. Okay, oops, a little bit too strong there. Okay, so I got a circle. I could use those circles. It kind of looks like flowerish, right? So I can make a flower in here. Not a line. If I do that, that's only a line. That's not a shape. So I need to make this 3-dimensional so there's a space in it. So it's a shape. Okay, so I'm filling up my space. Not too many, but just a bunch. And I'm going to put a triangle down here because that's going to repeat later. And put a line on the edge too. All right, so I have this shape. Now, this is how we're going to turn this into a kaleidoscope. So I take this design now and I'm going to fold it over this one. So this is going over this blank. I'm going to rub the back. Scissors are a good tool for this, just the handle of my scissors. And I get a light transfer here. It might be hard to see because of this camera angle. That didn't help. But there is a transfer here. So now I'm going to go over these lines again. So I'm tracing this, which is this. All right, comes out over here. And if it didn't show up, you want to go over it again with the crayon and push on it. Sometimes there's just not that much wax in the crayon, so it doesn't transfer very well. You could also, if you're talented enough, you can eyeball it. It didn't work out. Okay. Now I'm going to go over both sets of lines one more time because some of the wax has now come off of this side. It's also hard to use this silly little crayon. Okay, so this is a great fraction lesson because I have 6 parts and I have just transferred my design on 2/6 or 1/3. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to take this side and I'm going to fold it over where it is blank. I'm going to fold it and rub the back again. I do find normally that Crayola work really well because they're a pretty good quality crayon. Rose Art sometimes don't show up very well. I guess there's not enough that wax in them. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm going to continue this. When I finish these two, I'm going to lay it over this and I'm going to go all the way around with my design. I just wanted to show you, see how I changed the camera so you can see how it transferred. It's not exact, but you can see it's like a ghost print so that you can go over it. So I just wanted to show you how it will transfer over and then you go over the lines. Before I start to paint, I want to take my crayon and I want to divide all the sections. This kind of makes it look like a real kaleidoscope because the kaleidoscope is a repeat of the pattern because of mirrors. There's actually mirrors in a kaleidoscope, so it repeats the pattern numerous times. So I want to put the lines in between. Now, if you need to, you can also mark it off with a pencil because we're using tempera paint, so you'll be able to paint over it because tempera paint is opaque. So I'm just going to put one color in each space to mark it off. You're doing it in color order for the color wheel. So purple. What colors make purple? Blue and red. So purple will be in the middle of blue and red. I was kind of ambitious filling out my palette with all the colors. In one art class, you probably won't get around to using every color. Okay, what goes next to red? Orange, because orange is made with red. How do you make orange? Red and yellow. Now we're almost around the circle, and we have yellow here and blue here. Yellow and blue make green. Also notice that I'm using a paper towel to dry my brush in between. Even though I'm drying them, some of these colors are not coming out super opaque. Opaque means they're not see-through. This green is really, I guess I should have stirred the bottle more. Okay, so there are my colors of the color wheel. I painted one in each with that color. Now I'm going to make tints and shades in each space to color it. So I have green on my brush already. I'm going to start with the green. And so I'm going to take my green, I'm going to mix it with some white, and that's a tint. So I'm going to take some light green, and I will paint part of this light green. I'll make a lighter green. With that, I will paint another part. I can also make a dark green. So I take my green and I mix it with the black. Little black goes a long way. You don't need much, and it's going to change it big time. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the lights because that's dark enough, in my opinion. Okay. So I've got my green. Mix it with some white. Don't pollute it. Make sure your brush is clean before you pick up the white. No refills. Okay. I'm even going to make a lighter one. And I'm going to fill that last space. All right, so there's all my spaces colored with my greens. I'll go for my yellows. Yellows are challenging. Yellow gets polluted very easily, so be real careful with that. Okay, so I have my yellow, and I'll pick up some white. Even though it's very light, it still is a yellow. It's a yellowy white almost, right? Okay, and I'm going to continue around making tints and shades of each of the colors, filling in my shapes. When I'm done, I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now I have colored all of the sections in the color wheel with the tints and shades. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fill in the background space using black to make it really stand out. And I outlined all of the objects using crayon. So the crayon should really help the paints from blending into the spaces. But, you know, you've got to be in control. You don't want to use very watery paint, or it will definitely need a second coat, or it will blend into the spaces. So be sure that you're controlling your paint with your brush. Your brush gets not to a good point, you can always wipe it off on the paper towel, revive it. Okay, controlling our paints using the tip of the brush. Fill in these spaces in between our shapes. Just regular black. I'm going to turn off the video and I will show you the end results. Just a quick hint, when you're painting, you want to gently and carefully, it's just like coloring, you want to outline the space carefully, and then you can just fill in the rest. All right, and then you can go quickly if you have outlined it, so you don't have to be in so much control. So it's a much easier process if you carefully outline using the tip of your brush. Outline the shape. Then go right in and fill it in. Just a little tip on how to successfully fill in the negative space, that's the space around your design. Okay. Okay, so I've painted it all in. What would I do differently? Well, number one, if you notice over here, it's kind of spotty. I would have made sure I mixed or I stirred my paint better for the black, so I wouldn't have to give it a second coat. Another thing I would have done, I think I would have done all of my crayon lines in black instead of blue, so that they would match the background and they wouldn't be a different color. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with my design, and I'm ready to glue it to another piece of paper and hand it in. I hope you enjoy it.